Hello, my name's Emily Hosking, and I'm going to be talking about Harry Potter and how the franchise ended up becoming a very successful multi-virtual environment platform for all to enjoy. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, first and foremost, I just want to go ahead and talk about my thesis, which is that the Harry Potter books started out as a fantastical story, winning the hearts and imaginations of children and adults alike. As the series rose to popularity, so did the demand for an immersive virtual environment. Which brings us to the key people who this presentation is about. Who are J.K. Rowling and who is Harry Potter? Joanne Rowling, or better known as J.K. Rowling, was an English girl that spent her childhood buried in books. From an early age, she knew that she always wanted to be an author. But it wasn't until 1990 when she imagined the idea for Harry Potter whilst traveling from Manchester to London. She realized that she was onto something, so she vowed to spend the next 5 years strategically planning out what would become a 7-book series around her idea. Her story was about an orphan boy named Harry who lived with his evil aunt and uncle in London. While his aunt and uncle took him in after the sudden death of his parents as a baby, they treated him poorly and they forced him to sleep down in the cupboard under the stairs. It wasn't until Harry's 11th birthday party where he received a mysterious acceptance letter to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, which invited him to come and study magic. Harry discovered that all this time he'd secretly been a wizard and that his parents didn't die from the car crash that his aunt and uncle had lied to him about. In fact, his parents were killed by an evil wizard named Lord Voldemort. As it turned out, Harry had a lightning bolt scar on his forehead, which proved that he was the only living survivor of any of Lord Voldemort's attacks. So Harry journeys to Hogwarts, where he meets his two best friends, Ron and Hermione, that accompany him on all of his adventures, and they support him along the way as he works to eventually defeat Voldemort. He spends the next 7 years attending the school, learning about his past, his magic, and the wizarding world. So it all started with a book. With 3 chapters completed of this first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, she set out to Edinburgh in 1993, where the initial work was sent to several literary agents. After rejection upon rejection, she finally received a letter from one publisher, finally asking that they wanted to read some more. Joanne had a baby daughter and was really struggling financially, so at this point, she happily accepted a publication with Bloomsbury. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was published in 1997 and became an overnight success. Rowling's story quickly became a bestseller, and as the series launched translations in several different languages, a bigger and broader audience began to connect with the story. Eventually, the book published translations for over 80 different languages, making it a global success. The success launch of the books 1 and 2 ended up piquing the interest of Warner Brothers. The company ended up purchasing the rights in 1998 and went on to produce the first 2 films. The young British actor Daniel Radcliffe was cast as Harry Potter, alongside Rupert Grint as Ron and Emma Watson as Hermione Granger. The first film, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, premiered on November 14th, 2001, earning over 90 million on opening weekend. So, with the fandom rising, so did the elements of Potterhead, aka, as the fans lovingly refer to themselves as, Potter culture. Traditions such as midnight bookstore release parties became a ritual not to be missed. Dressing up as your favorite character to watch the movie premieres was expected. So, how exactly did a story about a boy wizard become so popular? To put it simply, it really just connected with people. No, none of us are secret wizards, and no, none of us attended a fantastical magic school while riding flying broomsticks and battling Voldemort. However, we've all felt like the underdog before. We all know what it's like to feel as though we're not really seen, and we hope that deep down there's some amazing hidden potential lying within us waiting to be discovered. We know what it's like to conquer fears and rise to the occasion in times of hardship. We all have a Ron or Hermione in some form cheering us from the sidelines. The themes of friendship, bravery, and self-discovery are universal, regardless if they take place in a wizarding world or not. J.K. Rowling's powerful storytelling combined with her wild imagination created a fantasy that felt so real to readers that it was able to survive outside of a book, a world that was so rich and so detailed that fans felt compelled to continue expanding it beyond the pages, to grow the story through virtual environments. On June 18th, 2010, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter theme park opened on Orlando, Florida's Islands of Adventure Park. This park contained several interactive attractions and rides designed to immerse visitors in the fictitious Wizarding World from the beloved books and the movies. The park worked with Harry Potter uh, designers, directors, and actors, and Rowling herself to make sure and ensure that the details felt as real as the story itself. Since its opening, the park has welcomed over 10 million visitors. The rapid success made additions a no-brainer and welcomed a secondary expansion to the park on July of 2014. This expansion is known as Diagon Alley, which is a set in a scene that took place within the stories in the books. So this expansion almost created sort of a part two kind of an experience of an environment that guests could immerse themselves in. Guests are only able to access both Diagon Alley and the original Wizarding World of Harry Potter, or the Hogwarts, through purchasing separate theme park tickets for both Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. The trek to and from the locations is just as magical as visiting them themselves. Designers and engineers worked to create the famous Hogwarts Express train replica to transport the guests from Hogwarts back to Diagon Alley. In 2016, Harry Potter went west, and Universal Studios Hollywood decided to add its very own Wizarding World, making the park accessible on both coasts of the United States. And here I'd like to share a video clip that just gives an idea of how immersive this virtual environment really is.
We all wonder what it would be like to fly, to have incredible power, to journey to a world beyond anything we thought possible. We wish, we hope, we dream. Then we come to realize wonder can be real after all. Lumos Maxima.
The Wizarding World of Harry Potter, arriving at Universal Studios Hollywood.
So as you can see, it's definitely an environment that fans all over could not miss. And then we talk about how beyond the physical and permanent virtual environment, there was a rise of physical and transitory spaces. The virtual environment landscape continues to grow as we evolve and we become more open with our communication and spread the word. So events that were not sponsored by J.K. Rowling herself or by the Harry Potter franchise ended up getting developed by fans across the globe. While fans all over can't always make the visit to Orlando or Los Angeles, people are still finding ways to create their own virtual environments within their communities. Each year, several Harry Potter themed festivals take place across the U.S. Just a few examples of these are the Queen City Mischief and Magic Festival, the Witches and Wizards Festival, and the IQA Quidditch World Cup. For example, the Queen City Mischief and Magic Festival takes place each year on the last weekend of September in Stratton, Virginia, located within the Shenandoah Valley. The festival encompasses 12 blocks and transforms itself into Hogsmeade, a village from the Harry Potter series. In 2019, the festival hosted over 10,000 guests and offered fan favorite experiences such as potion workshops, Slytherin snake shows, and magic lessons. And the virtual landscape does continue to develop as we evolve to become a more technologically driven society. The Harry Potter franchise has moved into the gaming world to create a digital virtual environment. The first game developed by EA Games launched for PlayStation in 2001. following the release of the Sorcerer's Stone movie. The games continued to release as each movie and did develop, technologically speaking, over time as advances were made. The gaming series follows the plot of the books and the movies where gamers play as Harry. There are several side plots and missions where the gamers can complete challenges such as casting a spell, flying the broomstick, and exploring the corridors of Hogwarts. Once smartphones were introduced and became a daily accessory, the Harry Potter franchise moved over to the apps and launched games such as Wizards Unite. In Wizards Unite, players join the Ministry of Magic's secrecy task force to help conceal the magic in the non-magic world. And of course, while the franchise and expansion of virtual environments all began with the book, they still continue to evolve in the literary world. J.K. Rowling had since written and released a play, which has made its Broadway debut in 2018. The play focuses on the story of the future after Harry graduates from Hogwarts, becomes an adult, and ends up having a son of his own. The saga continues with the next generation of wizards. J.K. Rowling has also released another book called Fantastic Beasts of Where to Find Them. And while this does not have Harry Potter or any direct characters in the story, it does take place within the original Harry Potter universe, and it does introduce us to some creatures that we already had been familiar with thanks to the books. In conclusion, and just some final thoughts, the Harry Potter franchise has grown into various forms of virtual environments. The original story has inspired the need for a fully immersive fantasy universe where its audience is free to escape to. The evolution of the franchise has developed into a timeless experience for generations to come. And so the hope is that with each passing generation, whether it's through book, play, movie, theme park, there's always some kind of virtual environment that anyone can visit at all ages. Thank you. And I'd just like to share my sources. Thank you so much.